just, embrace that. Embrace a suck, right? If it sucked. And as soon as I broke that barrier, I was like, okay, when you talk to somebody, you're not a foreign. You're a human talking to human, or a businessman talking to businessman. And the company took off. So it was just me.
Getting out of your own head. You were in your own way. You were your biggest barrier, right? And hurdle to overcome is what was holding you back. Welcome to another episode of Empower and Elevate. I am your host, Mark Thomas, and today we have a wonderful guest with us. This person shows incredible courage and determination. He moved to the U.S. in 2012, hoping to find a job and to build a better life. However, he faced many rejections from employers. Instead of giving up, he decided to start his own company from scratch. Despite the many challenges and setbacks, he persevered and turned his dream into reality. His story is truly inspiring, and we are excited to hear more about his journey. Please welcome Nasser Selo. Welcome, Nas.
Hey, Mark. It's been a while.
It has. But I guess the thing that's on top of my mind is, am I going to see you in a couple weeks?
Yes.
Fantastic. So I'll see you in Hollywood, Florida for the event.
Yes,
get to hang.
sir.
Hopefully we can make some time to see each other and maybe socialize a little bit.
Absolutely. Whole week. Looking forward to it. A lot of work, but a lot of learning.
Yes, I love to learn. And then we leave there a little bit saturated, right? And then go home and kind of process all that.
Yep.
So Nas, let's jump into you as an individual. Give me a little bit of backstory on Nas.
Yeah. So my name is Nasser Selo, and basically I moved to the United States, 2012, beginning of 2012. So
where from?
Dallas. I'm Syrian. So during the Civil War, or when it initially started, I was like, it's really going to get nasty here, so just get the hell out of there. And with being in business, I had to kind of like come here and figure something out, not knowing anybody. I have one family member in Texas, and that's why I came here and just, hit the ground running.
Okay.
I had an IT business back home.
Okay.
And we basically called an IT service solution. There is a little different. We don't do like any reselling or anything. It's just services, period.
Service. Okay.
And one day we decided to basically have better future for our kids that we didn't have at the time.
Okay.
My wife was pregnant, and we just literally took whatever cash I had my hand on at the time, which is basically nothing. And we just moved here and landed, and I was like, what are we going to do? And here we are, 2024, 12, 13 years later. And the American dream.
No, that's amazing. I guess the short story, right? The shortened version. But I'm really curious, like, that motivation to move, like going, you said, obviously the motivation was civil unrest or war, right? So, you said things are going to get bad, or things were getting bad. Was that your instant response as we need to get out of here? Or was there any, thought that, hey, we'll get through this and rebuild? Or it was like, no, the only option is we got to get out?
So I'm going to be honest with you. That was a hard decision. And it was just, not to kind of go into the details of politics and what happened there. But I wanted kind of like really, I think of myself, America is a land of opportunity, right? Although I made it in 2 different countries before, right? Because I lived in Dubai and I made it there.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I moved to Syria and I started a business, and we were very successful. I mean, we were killing it. But the issue is like I wanted bigger exposure, like to have something like brand. Like we always joke around it is like you cannot be Steve Jobs if you lived in a third world country, and that's unfortunately is somehow a fact. There are still exceptions to the story, but if you want to really do something big or something great, you got to go on a bigger platform and just kind of hit that. And that's where the decision came from. Of course, the healthcare, the education, and whatnot. It was a vision it's going to take a long time for our home to be the Civil War basically to be over. I just felt it from the day one, and just had that, I don't know, gut feeling, just get out.
Hey, before we get too deep into this episode, I need to take a moment to acknowledge one of our loyal listeners. Not only has this individual been a supporter long before we ever pressed record, he has also been a guest on one of our early episodes. I would like to thank Dan Gilligan for his help in continuing to support our mission of hope by donating monthly through our Buzzsprout page. Every contribution helps us continue to create content that uplifts and educates. If you too are interested in supporting our mission, please see the link in our episode notes. Together, we can make a difference. Now, back to the show. So in that was a huge decision. I can imagine making a decision because this is what you know, right? Your friends, your family, everyone in your business, everything there. And to think about getting outside that comfort zone of what you know and to go to a foreign country, right? Like going and just here we go, right? With nothing or very little. I can imagine that a lot of adjustments had to be made. So what were some of those adjustments moving from Syria to Dallas, Texas, that you and your family made? And what did that look like for you?
So let's get back a little bit and I'll tell you.
All right.
That last business that I had in Syria wasn't my first business. I started my first business when I was 16 years old. And I borrowed money from family and friends that believed in my little company at the time. And I lost everything. Like I lost all that money, but I kept it in heart. So I kept like, you know what? I'm going to pay all these people back. Although they were partners, I actually paid them back in full, took the whole loss myself. So I kind of like really thrive when I'm hungry, when I don't know what's going on. The scrappiness inside you just kind of like, go get it, right? Go get her. You just have to corner yourself and just like, okay, this is a situation you're in right now. What are you going to do? And you'll be surprised if you don't give up. Maybe over time and you get hit, you will feel down a little bit, right? We're humans at the end of the day. It hurts. But the whole thing is, just believe in yourself. Just believe in the people around you. Like, I remember vividly, like when we first landed here, the first walk I took, like people say hi, good morning, and just the smile of this amazing humans, people, the American people in general, right? It's just amazing. So I was like, you know what? People smile here. People say hi. All right, let's shake hands. Let's just put your heart into the business and just do something out of it and see what we can do. So it was a hard decision. A lot of actually failures in between, right? Because, the language I didn't speak. I was very broken English when I got here and I started applying for jobs. And it was like, I owned multi-million dollars IT business back home and I made it in a small country, that was like a lot, right?
Sure.
And then you from nothing and you just come here as like, oh, you want to believe in yourself. So that motivation that I had every single morning, of course, by the time I started thinking what to do it's I had my child and it's like, when you get a child, it's is not for you anymore. It's not for you and your partner anymore. It's like this generation has to go too. It's like they have to grow up. You gotta have to get a diapers and whatnot. so yeah. Keep a roof above their head and your head. It's just you get that fire inside you. I don't know how to explain it. And the thing is, what I really love about life in general and business people, business minded in general, is like, hey, you hit a goal, then what's next? If you don't have next, you don't have that feeling anymore. So you always want to raise the bar. And that's how you just kind of go get it.
You challenge yourself at that point.
Challenge yourself and just, it's hard. It's not fun sometimes. You know, I've heard one of your episodes about the mental aspects of it.
Yes.
It can really get hard on your brain and mental, even family sometimes. But I think we're cut for this. And here we are, Dallas, Texas.
No, that's awesome. Awesome. So you came to the U.S. with very broken English, unemployed. You don't have a job. You don't have a business. So you start looking for employment. And how did that go for you, looking for employment as a Syrian now in the United States?
So my mistake was because toward the end of my days back home, right, I owned the business. So I can wear the multi-hat, right? I can be the tech, I can be the sales, I can be the owner, but I really enjoy talking to people. And so all the resumes that I applied for were just basically sales engineering, like something in the sales area. And I applied for, if I remember, more than 150 companies. And
Goodness.
I just got one interview. Of course, I had connection with vendors. So I started calling, and one of the people works for a company called Kaspersky, which is, that's another business. I used to be the distributor for them back home in the Levant area anyways. I called, I know the CEO, I know everybody down that channel. So I called the guy here. I was like, hey, I'm here looking for a job. And I sent my resume. He was like, send me your resume for sure. We know each other. And I sent it. It was like, you don't have Rolodex. You don't know anybody. What are you going to do with sales? I was like, I don't know. I love sales, maybe sales engineering. They offered me inside sales in Boston, and I'm not really friendly with cold.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to make a decision saying no. And that was only job offer I get ever offered here.
No doubt. Just that one. It was making cold calls or whatever you're saying. And that wasn't necessarily your expertise, right? So
it's basically inside sales. So just you send estimates all day.
Oh, just estimates. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So you weren't like interacting with anybody. You would have just been, gotcha. Okay.
And Boston, like the salary wasn't paying off for Boston, right? I was like, can't do this.
So you were challenged with finding employment, because now you need to be obviously a place to live and food to eat, and you got a wife to take care of and child on the way. And you said all these things. And so after not finding success in regards to finding a company wanted to hire you, at that point you chose to do your own thing?
Yeah. So I told you I moved here because of my uncle, and my uncle in a retail business. So I started working a little bit with them and learning the retail business. And by the beginning of 2013, me and Em, we kind of bought a small business. That was actually, it's a store that was running out of business. And I just took that store and I worked, get up at 4 a.m, leave the store 8 p.m. for like 2 years, knocking doors, telling them we changed management, it's going to be good. Come visit the store. Has a little food inside too. So go to churches and just give them catering on the house and just putting the name out there, doing what we do, right? It's like whatever it takes to get foot traffic to actually was very dying store. Well, in 2 years, that business took off like crazy. Now that's a good segue to the story that actually made this current business that I'm in, which is the IT business.
Okay.
Back home, because we're doing service, right, all day long. It's just like we're taking calls, customer complaints, customer lunches and dinner, and just going out and all that good stuff. I was like, if I move into the state, I do not want to touch calls again. I don't want to do IT. I just want to do something where I have less headache. Just put it this way. Service is not fun all the time. We love it now, but it's back in the days. I thought, and I'm young too. It's like, hey, that's not the right thing that I want to kind of like do. After 2 years and making actually good amount of money, I was like, I cannot do this business. I'm not cut for this. My why in this life is just to help. And you going into a store buying something, you can do it with me or without me. There is not much added value that I can personally put in there. Of course, this whole retail has its own challenges and whatnot. Although we're very successful, but it's not that easy of a business. And I was just struggling, like mentally. It's just working a lot of hours, of course. And mentally, I was like, I can't keep doing this. So I called my partner at the time and I was like, I think I'm cut to do IT services. I miss doing this. I miss the customer service. I miss helping people. Met one of my first friends here in Texas, and happens to be an orthodontist, and he had an issue in his practice, and his IT company at the time couldn't solve his problem. And he was like, hey, I know you have this background. Can you help me? We're basically dying. I was like, yeah, let me go look at it. So I went and looked at it, and I was like, oh, this little sensor that they take x-ray is like $10,000. That's crazy. It's a USB thing. And I solved the problem within like 2 hours. And the guy was like, we've been on this for almost a year. And every time the system goes down, I have to shut the practice for a few hours until everything is restarted, everything is fixed. Dude, you should do this for a living. On my driveway back from that office, I'm thinking, like, I was like, oh, shoot. I went back and did technical support after like 3 years not touching computer, basically, right? And I love it, right? You're technical yourself, you know the feeling.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love it. I was so happy, like I was over the moon. And on a driveway back, I drove by, like I still vividly remember the street and how it works. I drove by a little institution where they teach IT. And what these guys do, they go into high schools and they basically market themselves like, hey, we'll give you a job in IT. And all what you have to do, now go to college, come to us, we'll teach you IT for $30,000 or whatever at that time. And you can pay it. We'll just give you like a student loan or whatever, and you just pay it. And by the time you finish it 2 years with us, we will guarantee you a job for another 5 years. And
interesting.
What I looked into it and I found it, of course, it's legal, maybe not ethical for me, and it hurts. They were targeting these kids and selling them a dream. And what they do is they actually go, and it's in a like poor area.
Okay.
Let's just put it this way.
Okay. A lot of poverty.
A lot of poverty in that area. So they're targeting these kids. They're putting a huge student loan on them, and they promise them a job what they're actually training them for, not to be technical or engineers, they're training them for the job that they're actually recruiters for. So basically, subcontractor for Dell that actually just replace laptop monitors, right? Yeah. So they teach these kids this, and they push them to work for that subcontractor for whatever, not minimum wage, but like few dollars above minimum wage. And I went back home and I started thinking, I was like, dude, how are they getting away with this? How can I, as a good person, try help kids not fall in this trap? Mm-hmm. Then I was like, I'll open a company. I'll do it healthcare specific. We just target healthcare. And I'm going to build an institution to teach technical people and take these technical people and give them back to the community, hospitals, medical practices, and what have you. And with these two ideas of just a lot of medical practices, they're having issues and not enough resources to kind of help them. And they're medium and small businesses, and come from enterprise experience, and then knowing like the HIPAA compliance. And when you want to be compliant and cyber secure, you can't spend like children miracle money on a smaller practice. So I was like, oh, I put all my experience in there, and I get so excited, start sketching up stuff, and just like, that's how it came. And here we are, of course, diverted out of our why and why I'm actually doing this so many times with challenges and, but here we are today. Actually, we just recently picked up on the main why, just train people and just give them hope, give them life, give them career.
It's okay. So no, that's awesome. And so today you're doing that, obviously. So then you started IT Scrubs.
IT for Scrubs, yes.
IT for Scrubs. Okay. And then with that, your focus became healthcare and bringing in individuals, training. And then are you then releasing those individuals to these organizations, or are you just supporting the organizations? How's that work?
So I started this with literally the filing with the state taxes. So I had not enough money to kind of like put in a company. So I did not hire people right away. I started getting customers, and I support them myself, wearing all hats: admin, sales, accounting, technical, all the good stuff.
Right.
Building a business, right? And that was in 2013, mid of 2013. By the time in 2016, I was fully out from the other business as basically I became a silent investor, let's put it this way, in the retail business. In a retail business. And I get into this, and I had one employee at the time. And again, we had so many customers and we were very profitable. But because I had this 3 years not actually making a lot of money from the retail, because I wasn't directly involved, basically not making a salary, just taking off the profit, we needed a breather as a family. So we just started falling in that trap. It's like, hey, you're making profit. Now it's the breather. Reward yourself, baby. And we're rewarding ourselves, and just bought a house, all the basically assets that we use. So that's how it came. And
so your motivation to start the business was really, at least the IT for Scrubs, your motivation was that lack of satisfaction you were getting within the retail side. You weren't getting that. You felt you weren't serving, right? And the IT you were used to in Syria was you were serving your clients. You were solving problems. You were getting that, you were bringing value to them by solving their problem. And then you were getting that fulfillment that you solved their problem, right? So you stepped away from retail, started the IT on your own. What kind of challenges were you faced with trying to start an IT business as, once again, you may say transporting yourself from Syria to the United States, thinking, now I'm going to start this business. in a foreign country from where you came from. And what kind of challenges were faced starting that business, the IT for Scrubs?
So it's funny. I'm reading the Atomic Habits right now. I don't know if you read that book. So it's funny that I always give excuses to myself. It's like, hey, I'm gaining weight like crazy. Well, last year I injured myself and I can't do sport. Well, that doesn't justify my health, right? So it's really easy to lean back and just excuse yourself. And that was the main challenge for me. Of course, with that comes, oh, I'm not from here. I do call clients. Clients was like, oh, you have a little accent. Where are you from? So you started doing this thing because like you're mentally saying, oh, they're not going to work with me because I'm not from here. Because
did you truly feel that way?
Yes, I did. Yes. Okay. So until I broke that barrier, I struggled for years, and I was like given an excuse every single thing that didn't work out. Given an excuse. Of course, I'm a very sensitive person, and my heart lead me before my brain. Sometimes I would say, unfortunately, but I put my heart into whatever I do. So the clients that I actually went with me, I love them. I honestly love them. Yeah. And I was like, hey, you took a chance and I'm going to make you the best as I can, right? In my area of, so I became the business consultation in the IT world, fixing the workflow in their offices or whatnot. So I started tackling areas. So I started giving myself, knowing more business, right? So I giving myself less excuses. It's like, no, there's no racial into this stuff. It's who you are. Just, embrace that. Embrace a suck, right? If it's suck. Yeah. And as soon as I broke that barrier, I was like, okay, when you talk to somebody, you're not a foreign. You're a human talking to human, or a businessman talking to businessman. And the company took off. So it was just me.
Getting out of your own head. You were in your own way. You were your biggest barrier, right? And hurdle to overcome is what was holding you back. So if I was asking you about, building, obviously as a new business, going out, trying to get new business now, and being Syrian and coming, you said, with an accent, and you've got this in your head that you're...
And I don't know anybody.
Yeah, you don't know anybody. Yeah. That's a person. But really, so, building trust with those new potential clients or with new clients and confidence in you, it sounds like there wasn't a lot of challenges with that as much as it was just the challenges with you, right? Yes. And overcoming your, obviously, the way you were viewing yourself, how you felt they were going to view you, and which really wasn't the case.
Yeah, I think we're in general, we can, as a human, every single individual have something special about them, right? And if you give yourself excuses not to do stuff, you're going to fail. Like an Atomic Habit, instead of just say, hey, I'm suck at math. I'm bad at math. I'm bad at math. You'll never learn if you just keep saying that. You're just going to have to believe in yourself and just kind of like do little tweaks and changes here and there and just like see it over time just paying off. Yeah, it was me. It's always if you just go read or just go through the company histories, it's always that individual that started this little thing, and their egos or their basically challenges or their lack of knowledge in certain areas that they thought they knew about it. It's what kept us all back. And as soon as you cross that, you're thriving. And I think it's a hard lesson to learn, but that's what makes us who we are.
Yeah, certainly. And you talk about, those challenges and but, making yourself uncomfortable is where we start experiencing growth, right? We don't grow when we're comfortable, right? You talked about going, you don't thrive, right? And you explained like, hey, if I'm challenged, I'm hungry. I go out and I make this thing happen. If I'm comfortable, right, it just doesn't happen, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, when you're comfortable, maybe you can talking about me and the background and our culture, we're very hard worker people. So you'll see people working days and nights, not taking weekends or whatever. Then, you have a family. It's not just about you. It's not about your body. It's not about your health. It's just about everybody surrounding you. So when you're hungry, all what you think of, or this is me in general, and it's a cultural thing or background thing, is like, hey, you just go get it. All the other stuff, your health, not a problem. You just have to go and put food on the table. So you're working 24/7. Literally, it's just like, hey, get back, sleep a few hours, just get up. I have an idea, just go start implementing on it. So that's what I'm talking about, the hungry. But when you're comfortable, and we're a good sized company now, I wouldn't say I'm comfortable, I'm privileged, and to have people that I love, and they make my life easier at work. I have managers, and I have amazing technical team that works behind me. And would I say I'm comfortable? Yes, I am, but would not stop that urge of help. Actually, because of our why, that to help people, to actually train people, give them a career. One of the things we added, maybe off the topic a little bit, we signed a program with veterans. There's actually an institution when veterans leave service. They actually go do a cybersecurity training in some of the in that specific institution, and after they need a job, so we made an agreement with them. They send us the veterans that actually have 3 or 6 month training with cybersecurity, and we give them 1 year path to actually have a career in IT. So we hire them and we give them a job. Currently, we have 2 full-time employees that not past a year, but they actually hit they tick all their boxes, they hit their target, and they're full-time employees. And just knowing that and just helping that people is like, that become your new challenge. It's very sensitive area to talk about, but I lost a cousin to mental disease, and that changed me a little bit. And I really want to help people more. I mean, that's why I'm in service, I guess, which is sometimes not fun. And, you can make money in retail. It was like, I was like, you can go just do the retail thing and it just works and it's amazing and we can grow it, scale it, whatnot. And I was like, I don't feel myself in it. It's not about money. It's what you love and what you want to do and whatever. So now I'm back on track on our main why. And that became a new challenge. So it's not necessarily you're comfortable. I'm very comfortable, not just financially, mentally, everything. I mean, finger crossed, I'll stay this way. But, you got to have a purpose in life, and money comes. I mean, money will come anyways. You know what you're doing. We have a career. We're tech support. We know how to do it. Money becomes a small little thing, but you're gonna leave this earth with an impact, even little bitty ones, and that's a challenge now.
There you go. So, and I think that's something that maybe, I don't know if you've seen it, posted this in the past or maybe through some of these episodes of the podcast, but, I did a lot of reflecting on my own life recently. And a lot of that had to do with turning 50, and going, oh my gosh, like a big number. What are we going to do? Right? What's the next half of my life going to look like? But a lot of that reflection was also like going, hey, we're not guaranteed a tomorrow. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I'm going to be here. What am I leaving behind? Right? What am I doing to make the world slightly better than what it was when I came into it? Right? Absolutely. What can I do to give back? Right? Because it's not all about the money. Don't get me wrong. Money's nice. It comes in handy. It pays the bills. Allows you to do some things. I don't want to stop saying I don't want to make money. I would like to use that money at that point. How do I give that back? How do I give back and help other people? Whether it's investing. This podcast is a huge investment, right? I mean, this was not, to take lightly. It was a lot more than I thought we'd wrap up into this, let alone employ people to produce this podcast, right? So, and this is a way of giving back, right? Bringing new stories to life, sharing them with others, giving back. It's just one example. But, even with passing that torch, you start, working more with your team and saying, hey, like, no, things that I would have done previously in the past, maybe myself, I'm going to stop myself and we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to let them see what I'm doing or how I'm doing it or whatever, and to pass that information on. Because if I'm not here to see tomorrow, I want to know these individuals. I did my job to pass that knowledge on that they can move forward in life, right? And they're not relying on Mark for the answer, Mark for this, right? No, they're now self-thinkers. They now have this skill. They have this knowledge that I shared with them, and they can continue on.
Yep. I would add to that, Mark. Let's put it this way. Money is very nice. I sit with friends and they talk, it's like, hey, money is a tool. Money actually makes a lot of stuff easy, but it's not everything. The first year in retail, after we went door knocking and get a lot of business, my income was higher than what it is today. It's crazy. And it's really, really, I would say after few years, if I stayed, it would have been very easy money, right? There's no overnight success. Overnight success is a lot of times illegal. Let's put it this way. But yeah, there's no overnight success. People look at me as like, I have friends look at us like, hey, you're very successful, man. You just made it. Like, it was like this. It was like, no, it wasn't like this. I put a lot of hours. I put a lot of heart into it, a lot of thinking, and the road to own your own business on your own is freaking lonely. Like, you got to make decisions on the top of decisions, and you're affecting everyone around you, and just, it's not that easy. And as you said, it's like, hey, we're gonna leave an impact. Then giving that torch, as you said, to your team to kind of do exactly what your purpose in life do. And my team actually loved this fact that that's what the company was supposed to be, and that's where we lost. I'm just gonna say it. We lose track of what we're doing because there is a lot of challenges on the way, but nothing wrong with that. Learn from them, get stronger, get back to it. As long as you know you're going to get back to it, you're good. And I totally at one point forget about it with the challenges. You're going to try and make a living too, right? And we get back to it, and here we are. Now, the nice thing, and one of the things that I walk around and talk about it and everything, and that's actually how we met, Mark, is just the peer group, the education, the training, the self-improvement. A lot of people feel comfortable, and I was like, they stuck where they are, and they can't just get it to the next level, or the one good to great kind of scenario, or scale it, or basically. And that's why, unfortunately, you see, and specifically here, I think the number above 70% of small businesses, that's one or two man show, right? Or I don't want to be sexist there, but it's just two people working in a company, and it's forever. So the owner always working, and basically what you did, you just get yourself a job. You own your job. That's all, and nothing wrong with that.
No, that's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. Some people cut for it. Some people loves it, and you know what? Not being that person sometimes is actually struggling. So I hear a lot of story about people that they wanted to own their business and want to grow their own business and scale it and have employees and what have you, right? And then boom, that mental, it's a hurdle. It's there. It's just, it hits you at one point and you just kind of like cannot lift your head up and you're stuck. And it's so sad. And one of the fact that actually keep talking about it is having somebody help you, hold your hand through the journey. And there's nothing better than having somebody that actually took your steps and they're ahead of you or in the same boat as you, or even they just started, to learn from each other's. So and that's how we met, right? Just back to it. Yeah. The peer groups. I mean, joining peer groups, I joined a peer group, I think in 2022, and we were stagnant. Like as a business, we didn't grow for years. And just because wherever I go, I feel I'm the smartest in the room. Around all my surroundings, I feel I'm the smartest in the room. And, you know, it becomes life. It's, hey, you're making money, you're making living. Your kids are comfortable, you're doing investments, etc. You're good, you're set for life, right? And then he's like, oh, but we're stagnant. We're there. We're not going to move. We're not even adding 1% year over year. And you just think about it, it's like, oh, I don't have a proper education for this specific phase I'm in. Yes, I've done 1, 2, 3, and I want to go to 5. But I don't know how to do 4. And you can't find a segue around it. You got to have to go through it. And you need education. So for a long time, I quit reading. I quit learning. Of course, on the technical end, we're learning technical. But on the business side of things, nothing. And when I joined that peer group, the first peer group I joined, which is in the same organization, you're in a different peer group. But we're in the same organization, and the 10, 12 peers that I have in my group, they're smart, intelligent people. They have a different life story than me or you.
Correct.
And they made it. And you know what? They're smart. Yes, you think you're smart, but they're smart too. And you take all that knowledge from all these different people, then you started reading books and just kind of self-develop on myself. And it's like, oh, I'm on 7. I passed 4 long time ago. Then you're on 10. And people say, oh, the first million is the hardest thing. And when you hit 1 million, I think Shark Tank, it was on Shark Tank. It's like, hey, you make the first million, that's the hardest thing. Then everything is snow rolling from there. So snowballing from there. And it's not. The 2 million has a challenge. The 5 million has a challenge. And if you don't build processes, like I didn't know how to document all what I do. And I sat down, I was like, oh, I do this. I shouldn't be doing this. This is taking a lot of my time. Let's delegate, whatever the story is. It's like, hey, find the right person in the right seat to do what I do. Exactly what you said. It's just like pass that torch, and just keep focus on your why. It's like, hey, we're gonna get more kids that don't have a career, don't have education. Teach them, give them a proper job, not a minimum wage, and let them go and thrive either with our company or any other company. But that's our why. It's like, hey, sometimes it doesn't work and not a culture fit and what have you. But yeah, it's amazing. It's challenging. you get hurt throughout sometimes, but it's just what keeps us on our toes.
You talk about obviously learning, right? So, if you're not learning, you're not growing. And as a leader, it's our responsibility to learn, right? Like if it's just, face it, and just like talking about business, you can't grow past a certain phase if you've never been there. I've had conversations with CEOs that were still trying to run their $120 million business like a $12 million business. It wasn't working out well, right? They had to reach outside of their comfort zone, right? What they know, to bring in some, different processes and hire different people to do these things to start operating like a $120 million business.
Yep.
And, that's just all part of that growth. And, sometimes we get so stuck in what we're doing, we don't realize that we should be doing all these other things because we're not, once again, if you're busy with the day-to-day, BS or whatever you're dealing with, you're not opening your mind to these other things. You're not learning to know that you need to apply these things. You just know that, maybe you get some inefficiencies, or maybe, you're fighting with these things, but don't realize that there's a solution to that. If you're to go out and look for that, right? Look for that knowledge that then apply it to your business. So you've mentioned, I heard you, and I'm looking down here to my notes. I heard you mention atomic habits. I heard you mention good to great. I heard you mention scale it. Obviously, we know all these are some very good information, right? And how you, once again, it's only as good as how you apply it, right? Most recently, you had mentioned the Atomic Habits. You're reading that now, correct?
Yes, right now.
And so far in that, what's that one thing you're pulling out of that you could see yourself applying tomorrow?
So self-improvement.
Self-improvement, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. The funny part is I always you see me next year, I'm shred. Then you see me the year after, I'm gained a lot of weight. And honestly, yes, I'm very I try not to be addictive to anything, and just figuring out, I was okay, I'm a food addict. It's a thing. And I got to work around it. It's just how, right? So
tell me more about that. What do you when you say a food addict? What does that mean? Help me understand.
We're very foodie, so it's we like to go eat and try food or whatever.
Okay.
Although I'm very I work out as much as I can, but I've never had that schedule. So the Atomic Habit, and the reason why I started that book is just a little bit of a tweaks that you can change daily and make it a good habit versus a bad habit, because it's all bad habits. It's hey, I eat this chocolate today, I should be fine. Then you eat that chocolate tomorrow and you should be fine. And it's a little bit. Then what we do is one day, oh shoot, I gained a lot of weight. What are you gonna do? You diet one day, you step out at the scale, and it's oh shit, I'm still in that same weight. You're not going to lose weight in one day. You've been building that up over years. Right. Same thing. You don't build success in one day. That's what I said. There's no overnight success. It's just a little bit of a little bit of a little bit. And what you're doing, you're just changing and learning better, changing your habits, learning. And changing the habit of my egos is hey, no book can teach me how to run my business. Not even $200 million CEO can teach me how to run my business, because that CEO got lucky. It's at some point, and I'm not lucky, or whatever the story is. I'm trying to get my point here, which is no. It's just you gotta figure out what you're doing. It's not going to work anymore. And every single day you're doing it, that becomes a bad habit. Just tweak it, whatever it is. Learning is essential. Honestly, our culture, unfortunately, nowadays, is my background, is not a reading culture. And just to go back to the fact that I can read a book or even listen to a book when I'm in the car, it was just, who's going to teach me what I already know about my business? Like, nobody can teach me. And the first book I've read after 10 years of not reading books, it was a very good book called Traction. I know you read it because I know you touched a little bit on that module, and I was like, oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then it's like, oh, I should start sitting with Mark and see what he does and how he does it. And then you collectively collect all these ideas and see what all people are doing, and you share with all these smart people, because you're not the smartest in the room.
No. We all know something someone else doesn't that we can share. And that could be an experience, right? That could be when I say a trial and error, or, a lesson learned, or you learned through a mistake, right? I mean, that you made and you came out the other side and you can share that experience. So yes, we all have knowledge that someone else doesn't, that we have to share. And so regardless of whether you think you're the smartest guy in the room or not, everyone else in there knows something you don't.
Absolutely. And this is where if people can, I see a lot of people, like even in the business meetings and peer groups that I do, I'm in multiple peer groups. And if we just can get over our heads and look at this beautiful company take off, just because you decided this is the right way is not necessarily the right way. But again, that's how you learn. You learn the hard way.
Well, and we only have to get it right once, right? And a lot of people don't see all the things they say, oh, look how successful. Yeah, but define success, right? I mean, that's different for everyone. And then you also look at the aspect of going, hey, what they're not seeing is all the things that you tried that didn't work, that you learn from to apply the next time, is slightly different, right? All they're seeing is obviously this image of, oh, look at you and all of your employees and know what you're doing. Like, oh, you get this raving success. And yeah, but what they don't realize, all the hardship you went through, all the trial and error, all the, the mistakes you made, the mental anguish at times, right? I mean, we talked about being lonely. Lonely comes up quite frequently when we're having conversations with the CEO, as far as lonely in the business, lonely in leadership, lonely at the top. So that element of, I just totally derailed there. I started thinking about EOS and then totally lost my train of thought, right? Like, because I wanted to lead into that as far as you talked about traction and obviously implement EOS in your business. And that was something you had to learn, right? And learn to apply. And I'm sure you made some adjustments along the way. I don't want to say necessarily mistakes. You made adjustments to make things work for you and your business. So what was some of the biggest things when you applied the traction and EOS concept to your organization? What was some of those things you applied that made the biggest impact?
I think letting go of the wine in general, just knowing that I'm not supposed to do this. Mm-hmm. I'm good at this, not that. Just knowing that, you can trust your people. Let them fail. Like, that's the hardest thing. You're sitting in a meeting, and I'm starting our sales department right now. And I sit with a meeting, and the new sales guy that I'm training, he makes a mistake in a meeting with a client or a potential client or a prospect. And you just really have to not say anything and just take a note of it, go talk about it later. And sometimes that will cost you a potential customer. But you're going to have to embrace that you can't be in every single room and doing every single task in this business. And that was the hardest thing. It's like, yeah, I would solve this. We get tickets because we're a service department, right? Mm-hmm. So I can solve this ticket in 1 minute. This guy took him 2 hours. But what I didn't do before, let him take the 2 hours, and next time he or she will fix it in 1 minute. And they will become they'll have the experience that I have today. Because, of course, when I first did it 20 plus years ago, it took me 2 hours. But I kept making a mistake, adjusting, making a mistake. So specifically the new operating system for the business, if it's EOS or other than EOS, because we don't have fully EOS, we cannot did some adjustments.
Sure.
It's just you making sure that your people are there for the company as much as you are. And that was the hardest thing. It was hard. It's still hard. I'm not going to lie. I sit in a meeting and I try to shut up. Sorry. Let's
no, it's
correct
okay.
it.
No, I get it. I mean, I'm firsthand. I'm like, yep.
That's a hard, I mean, you know your business. You created this from the get-go. You know every single element of it, whatever. And something come up. I was like, okay, I'm going to be silent and let them handle it. And that is beautiful. Like when you see them solve the problem, they're over the moon. I'm like the highest person on earth. It's like, oh my God, they know how to, this is amazing. And sometimes it hurts because, you know, especially with the older clients, if they make mistake with or whatever, you know what, let's cut this because the clients might be listening to it. Yeah.
No, that's okay. You know, it goes back to going. So you said you didn't fully implement EOS, obviously, but you put obviously some of the elements in place. You know, we're not full EOS either. We implemented more aspects of OKRs, right, into the business and a little bit more digestible based off of our size, right. In due time, I have participated in some EOS with some of my peers, right, in their organizations. But no, it's great. It's always, once again, it's all things of you are the smartest man in the room, but you didn't know anything about that until you read about that, right?
Yeah.
And then you were able to implement these things and letting go. That's very difficult. And it's you, because you don't want to see them necessarily make those mistakes, right? You know, it was annoying. You could have prevented it, right? But you can't be there all the time. And at the same time, you know, let them learn a little bit on their own, and you know, call it micromanaging, right? Like you don't want to necessarily micromanage it either. You have other responsibilities to the rest of your team when it comes to running your business, and it's not necessarily fixing that thing, right?
Yeah,
this on that ticket, and even though you might have had you said that you could have solved that in 30 seconds, or whatever, 3 minutes, and it took them 2 hours. You know, do you afterwards, that kind of an after action kind of review that and say, okay, what do we learn from this? And, you know, the next time you experience this, what's your action plan? What's that going to look like? Because once again, how do we know what we're doing? Well, we know it from our experiences.
So speaking of that specifically, it just, you got to circle back and get to it. And the old me, the old ego, when I started this and just kind of started really taking off, I would say, you said something about $200 million CEO running a business as a $12 million company. And what you do is you get caught in a moment. Like you're basically, oh, we're making it. So last year we added 75%, I believe, from the year before in business and revenue.
Top line revenue. Okay.
Yeah. And what the old me would just keep going. Like it was just, 2024, let's do another 75%. And then I was like, no, we need to restructure things. We need to actually pay attention. We need the right tools. And the most important thing, I need to sit down and talk to my people. I need to know their struggles. I need to know why you're not buying a house and that's your goal, right? Why? So we started the whole EOS thing, the rocks or the OKRs, the goal basically. Yeah. We started putting it to our employees, and we meet strategically to kind of follow up and scorecard it. We basically give you accountability on your life choices just to kind of push you. Like our peer group do this thing is like, hey, go work out. We have a group called Let's Go. So everybody's pushing each other to kind of work out, because you easily can stay in the office till 8 p.m. Then you can't go to the gym or wherever.
Heck yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Usually it's like 11, 12 o'clock before we leave the office a lot. So, I mean, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And just that, it's, again, this is what we are leaving a mark in it, in this word, is just, you got to talk to your people. Make sure what they were happy with yesterday, not necessarily going to make them happy. And again, that's said in a lot of podcasts and a lot of books, is not all people motivated by money. So if you think you're just paying your people enough, that's not enough. You gotta have to kind of sit down with them, figuring out what's going on. And then when you grow, you're going to have your managers, your department managers, your C-level, or whatever the organization org chart is, to kind of sit down with their people. So we just made, this is recent. It's like, hey, you do one-on-one every single week. How many people in your department? You one-on-one. You put time on your calendar. You gotta have to talk to these people, because they're doing the grind. They're doing the work. And we don't know what's going on, mental, physical. Like we have an employee with some back issues or whatever, and you don't think about it at the moment. But one of my friends had a back issue, and at one point he was like, I was thinking about suicide. And you don't think about it. It's like, back issue, suicide. Why? It was like, It hurts so much. You don't understand. Medication is not killing that pain. And you think about it, it's like, oh man, do you know how many stories we have in our companies and our communities? Your next door neighbor, you just kind of have to sit and talk to people. After the story that I have in my family, I don't tell you how are you and just expect you to say, I'm good, and just walk away. If I'm asking you, how are you doing? I mean it. I just want to know, how are you doing for real?
You don't want to ask me that question.
We'll take it. We don't have it at a time. On the record.
No, seriously. I mean, yes, it's just not a polite. You're not just being polite, but you're generally asking. And you talked about touching base with your team on a regular basis. And we know that different things drive people differently. And we also know those things change, right? You talk about those goals change, your life changes, like what's driving them changes. So I commend you on connecting at that level. So what is somebody said, you talk about weekly meetings? Is that what you're saying? You're doing weekly connections?
We do one-on-one with the employees weekly now. Okay. And
what kind of feedback have you gotten from that?
It's amazing. You'll hear stories. To be honest with you, I'm not into those meetings, but I read the reports for them because we're still small. We're 9 people, but the service manager do it for the service team, and it's unbelievable. Like, you work with this person, like you're desk to desk with this person, you have lunch with them and everything. But, there's challenging, and there's also good news. Like, you'll hear, it's like, oh really? You moved or whatever. It's just sad that when I see like companies just going at it, like without the human touch or the nature of it. Even with our clients, you don't know what they're going through. You're sending them invoices, and just like, if you have a smaller client, whatever, that account receivable or account payable person that you're working with, you don't know what they're going through. It's just, money, we talk about it. Money, when you do all the good stuff, you put your heart into what you do, your goal is to help, or your goal is to be a good person, and that's it, right? You're going to get money, because I'm a big believer in karma. And we touched a little bit, you and I, before this show on it, is like, hey, there are certain things that happen to our retail business recently, and basically we're going to lose that business. And I was telling my daughter, my 12 years old daughter, the story, and she was like, "They can do that? Is that legal?" I was like, "Yes, it's legal, but maybe unethical." And the sweetheart child she was like, Dad, what goes around comes around. Let karma take care of it. And we were going like lawyers and we're going to sue and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And as soon as she said that, dude, it was like, you know what? She's right. What goes around comes around. So many times, I left my home country, mm-hmm. my comfort zone.
Right, yeah.
I own business. I know so many connections. I have bank customers. I built an ISP for a client. We were hitting home runs, grand slams, and moved here. And how I am in this seat today is literally karma. We just help people. They'll come back at you. Don't think about the reward momentarily. You're not going to lose weight in one day dieting. Just diet. Don't diet. Change the way you think about food. Change the way you think about customer service, technical support. Don't fix a problem because you want to get the paycheck at the end of the week. Fix a problem because you want that happiness because you actually solved the problem. And maybe nobody can fix a problem. And you went and you put it, we document like the solutions that we have, and you put it for the whole company to see. And yes, we do little rewards now in the office on every single ticket. And it's just amazing, that little feeling, like it's literally nothing. It's just nothing, the reward, but it's just a feeling. It's just, oh my God, I was able to do this. Yeah. So we are human. We're driven by actually success. Unfortunately, not a lot of people are, but what drives you is different from what drives me. And why I wake up in the morning is totally different why some people wake up in the afternoon, right? And just finding that little tune and finding out what you actually here for is just blessing.
No,
and it takes time. I mean, I'm still learning. But what I was 10 years ago, I'm not the same person. I've learned so many things and I still have a lot to learn. Sometimes I go on a book rally for like weeks and I get depressed. And I was like, I get so many ideas and I get so many things and I can't implement any of them. And I'm so tired. It was like,
but you can't let that get you down, right? Obviously, you know that the time will come. Right. The time will come that you can implement those things, or, you know, and maybe it's just as you prioritize those things. Hey, what's going to make the biggest impact on my life, the biggest impact on others' life, on our clients' life? So when you implement these things and prioritizing them, and I know that can be a struggle because I want to do it all now. I want to do it all right now. Right.
Yeah. And slow down.
But that's not real.
The slow down factor too, man. It's like me rallying on book. Literally, it was like, I want to get. Sometimes I start two books together. It's like, hey, I want to learn. I'm dead serious. I'm reading 3 books right now.
I can see Naz. He's got a book. He's reading a book and he's listening to Audible at the same time, right? Like, oh, no, he's got time out. He did it to work.
Not to that, but actually, I would do like 2 Audible. I have one for my morning walk.
Okay.
On my watch. And then I have my night book and I have my during the day drive book on my phone. It's 3 different. I do it, but I've learned, and this came with age, to slow myself down. I used to wake up. So let's say I have to be in a meeting at 7. Okay. I'll wake up 6:55. I click the coffee, shower in 1 minute. I'm so fast. I could boom, 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 boom. I'm dressed and I'm ready in a meeting at 7, and that was killing me. Dude, I had to learn how to slow down. I actually bought a machine where I have to make my own coffee. So I have to grind it. I have to put it on a scale, and I kind of craft my coffee to start my day slow so I can go tackle the but with like not rushing into it. It's just like literally weighing the options, thinking about it. Science. I mean, I was reading U.S. Had 2,600 Olympic medal, gold medal. The next country, which is I totally forgot who, have 1,600. So we're 1,000 medal above any other country.
Okay.
And do you know what that is? Why that is?
No, why is that?
Because they're catching up to the US now, because they don't take things slowly and kind of like literally give it the right time to think about it. If you go to any other part of the world and you watch a game, all what's in the game, all what's going on TV is like, hey, goal or wherever. It's just here. It's like, that this player has more 3 points than the percentage of other player. It's all numbers, statistics. It's a science. It's not just a sport. It's actually a science in the sport. So you cannot do that when you're rushing into things. Your decision making will be rushed into it. You're going to have to learn how to slow down.
Analyze the data.
Analyze the data and take your time. Nobody's dying today based on your decision, but you will kill yourself rushing. And I had to learn that the hard way. It's like, hey, what am I making that decision so quick for? What's the next book? What am I going to learn next? And that whole fire inside you, you're just going to have to just like calm it down a little bit. Think about it. It's amazing what age does to you, man. It's just amazing. Like, I was crazy guy. Like, I would run off walls, get business, jump here and there. I was like, now I was like, no, you gotta slow down. You have family around you. They're gonna lose.
It's a marathon, right? It's not a sprint.
Yeah, they're gonna lose you. They're gonna lose you.
Wonderful. So, Naz, we touched on a little bit of you bringing your Syrian background, right? Your culture. You came to the U.S., started this business. Talk about the people and the one-on-ones. What would you say culture of your organization? You talk about giving back and learning and growing, but what other elements has influenced the culture of IT for Scrubs today? Some of the things that make your culture unique based off your experiences.
Yeah, good. That's an amazing question. Me running back, piggy tale of the story. Running. Didn't pay attention for the people around me, and I think the culture that we have now is like, we literally just kind of listen. We kind of slowed down. The whole company culture is like slowed down. We're still like, hey, if a customer down or whatever happened, we're on fire for it, for sure.
Sure. Responsive.
The whole company, if a client goes down, and it rarely happens, but if it happens, we're actually on fire, like the whole team. But knowing that when not, we're actually very chill. We're very like friendly between each others. We know each others very well because it's a human aspect of it. It's not the business aspect of it. Yes, and sometimes giving somebody raise because it's essential for their existence, or with this inflation, what's going on nowadays, and knowing is, back in the days, I would just somebody in need, let's just help, and knowing now is like, no, we have a target, we have whatever, and it's still that culture of balance between what business is and what your people are, and this is the thing that actually built our company culture. We were COVID before, we were like working from home, right? And just going back to office and meeting. We meet twice a day, morning huddle, afternoon huddle. I'm not in all the meetings. I'm not. I'm trying to build the new chapter, right? But just knowing that they have that connection, they knowing that, if Mark cannot solve this, I'm confident if I escalate it to Nas will take care of this. Just trust in the team, like a sport team. They trust each other's. Yeah. Yes, I'm the best 3 shooters out there. Maybe I am. But I'm going to trust Mark to shoot it this time. Yeah.
So, curious, what's next? What's next for Nas?
Well, on the goals, on paper, this year we're restructuring. We're becoming more mature operationally.
Okay.
We had to change our main software, and this has not been fun. It will never be fun, but we can't go to the next without it. So on paper, this year's nothing. There is a growth. A lot of people and a lot of peers talk about retirement and just the exit strategy and whatnot. I think I really need to keep this machine working. I personally feel, and I've been reading about it, and I have a lot of doctors friends, of course, because I mainly do medical.
Yeah, right.
And even not clients, medical friends that I trust a lot, and they always say something that's actually very impactful. One of my friends is actually a physical therapist in a hospital, and he was talking about the healthiest people he see, because he's working with the elderly in general on the physical side of things. He's like, there are a lot of 90, 80 years old patient of him that they come and they're so sharp, and there are 2 aspects of it. After him in the ground talking to these patients and asking them critical questions. He built a system where he actually asked critical questions, and those questions are always like, what are you doing now? And they're actually, all of them are involved on some kind of work, so their brain is operational. A friend of mine, his dad decided to exit and retire, and dude, he got from a guy that playing tennis, I'm not kidding, less than 6 months from a surgery to a surgery to a surgery right after retirement. I mean, his health declined in the past 2 years, significantly. And I think because he just doesn't have anything to do.
Isn't that interesting how many times we hear about that, about as far as people retiring, or once again, and whether their health takes a turn, or maybe they're no longer even around a few months or maybe a year or 2 after retirement. I know that, obviously it's not something on the top of my mind, but it's something I do think about, what does that future look like? And do you think, so your friend who is talking to people, talking to those older, I say older because they're older than us, individuals, you're saying most of those are keep busy with work, some type of work-related thing. They're not just, enjoying the days of doing nothing, right? They're doing still something to keep their mind sharp or mind active. So he's seeing a lot of that by keeping active mentally
and socially.
They're keeping healthy. They're healthier.
So they're talking to friends. They go out with friends. And unfortunately, with this whole internet and the social media stuff, that kills the in-person interaction. And this is essential. Our culture are very social. People are out all the time. I mean, since I started my business there to the day I left, you breakfast, lunch, dinner with customers and friends. So you're always outside with people. Nobody have lunch at their desk. we don't have that in our culture. People are out. There's a Netflix that my wife was watching, Emily in Paris, and you see that cultural difference between the social aspects that people come to work at 11 and they go for lunch like for 2 hours and they're drinking and smoking at lunch or whatever. Not to that,
not to that extent.
Not to that extent, but the social aspects he adds. The two major questions, like what do you do and how often do you go with friends? And these guys that actually go with friends more often, they're the sharpest. So he has a lot of 90, 80 years old patient that's very, very healthy. Of course, like you fell and something happens, but they're sharp. They're there. It's not like me at 40 now. It was like I started forgetting stuff.
Well, trust me, I know I forget my fair share of things too. So it happens. Yeah. Anymore, sometimes I often wonder, geez, did I dream that? Like, or did I just forget to do that, or what happened? Right? Like,
Yep.
So, and then you mentioned your 12-year-old daughter, right? What most impactful thing are you trying to, instill in her when it comes to business and life?
Man, this is.
I know that's a big one, right? But I'm curious. Like from a NAS standpoint, as a parent, knowing everything that you've overcome in life that got you to where you are at today. And what is that thing and how are you trying to do that for your child? And I say,
so I have two kids. I have 10 years old because if I don't mention her, she'd kill me.
You have two daughters?
Yeah, I have two daughters.
Okay.
And the matter of fact is one of the books I read before and I read again is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Sure.
And we try not to say we can't afford this. We always say, hey, let's find a way to do this. So I did a really ugly move a few years back and they wanted an iPad. My kids don't use technology. They don't have phones yet. All the good stuff. I'm trying to have them create their playing habits. It's not like, oh, what are we going to do now? It's like, oh, go figure out. Venture. This is how we grew up, right? It's like we just went and forged our games and whatnot. It wasn't like, oh, I have this game.
Right. Well, no, I was raised where, hey, when you got up, you ate breakfast. If it's summertime, you were expected to get out of the house and not come back until it was time to eat again, right? Or before the street light came on.
Yeah,
you're on your own. Figure it out.
Yeah, it's sad, but we're a different time. It's different time, different place. Everything has changed. There's a great parenting book, and I can't recall the name. I'll give it to you in a minute. We just figure their things out. So one of my daughters was like, hey, we need an iPad. I was like, okay, how can we get an iPad? And she just started thinking, I was like, okay, it's going to be like $300 or whatever the price is. And she's like, okay, let's just do it. So, and she was like, can I do lemonade stand? And, usual lemonade stand for a cause. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to write whatever she said she would do. I was like, okay. So we get the tubby from Costco for the Country Lime or wherever.
Uh-huh.
And what I did, not just had her go do the lemonade stand, I had her write P&L. So she was like, I purchased this for that price. I purchased the ice for this price. I had to buy the mason jar for that price. Mm-hmm. And then that's my cost. That's my expenses. What's asset in there? The mason jar. Okay, that Country Lime costs whatever, $10. It will make 8 ounces cups. Divide, know your cost. So that taking that and becomes like, oh, That's how you do business, and that's how you build business. So I always try as like, hey, lead. What do I do for my kids to have this challenge, to accept challenges that when they leave school, they're actually working, logically working, not just systematically working. And the critical thinking part of it. She did it. She did 2 lemonade stand and saved for an iPad. I felt really bad for the people who asked her. It was like, hey, what are you doing this for? And she was like,
an iPad?
I'm buying an iPad. I was like, Dad, but I had to teach my kids, we don't say we cannot afford it. That's a big thing. Okay. Of course, we're lucky, we're privileged. We try not to show them the part is like, hey, you got money, you just go do whatever you want. The balance of it. We sit at dinner and I share a story about my day and what's the challenges. Well, this one thing that I basically, it's my personal opinion. I got to a certain stage of my life because I was pushed and challenged. And unfortunately, we see that parents nowadays, I think they call them helicopter parents, they're just protecting their kids and they're just holding their kids' hand and
which they have good intentions, right? We're trying to protect them, right? Like, yeah, we love our kids. We want to protect them. Yeah.
And that hurts their future. You see a lot of kids don't know how to do anything. And because their parents help them do this or that. Financially, even educationally, it's like, I've heard about parents. Actually, I know a parent that write their kids' homework. It's like, what are you doing? Like, it is. And that book's actually talk more about this stuff. It's insane. I try to have my kids be self-efficient, dependence, and understand no matter what life throw at you, take it, embrace it, find a way around it, and share. We share every single day. We push reading now a lot because unfortunately, even schools started slowing down on those requests. We invest heavily in their activities, what they can do. Again, back to the beginning of the story that we started this podcast for, is like, why America? Because I told my friend, it's like, hey, maybe my kid will be the next Steve Jobs. And that's what I work every day for. I honestly, my personal family why is just giving my kids the best platform that I can, but it's not enough to build a platform and just give them everything they want. You gotta have to let them experience the process, the 1, 2, 3, the 4, and the 5, and they can get going.
No, and I think that's critical. And it goes back to, I know that we all only want the best for our children. And he said, talking about helicopter and doing these things, but unfortunately, when I see it all too often doing those things, they haven't, in my opinion, the ultimate responsibility is to teach your kids life skills that they can apply on their own. Right. And I think you and I, you talked about, I think we learned a lot of those life skills. We had to, right? Like going, that was just the way it was. And it's disappointing to see because there's so many things that I've seen this too in the children that I'm around and things of going, just the simple things that haven't been taught. And it's like going, what are you going to, like if your parents were to disappear tomorrow, like how would you survive? I mean, there's even the simplest things you don't even know how to do, right? It's like going, I understand maybe you're forced to learn to do it at that point or find somebody who can do it, or this mentality of, I'm not going to try, I'm just going to pay somebody to do that. Okay, great. What happens when you don't have the money to pay somebody to do that or to fix that thing or to whatever, right? Like sometimes you've got to figure it out yourself. Important life skills. I think that's ultimately the responsibility is provide and raise their children to be healthy, strong, independent individuals, but have the life skills to apply in multiple situations. Teach your children about the lemonade stand and, the cost of things and maybe coming up to how much to charge for that cup of lemonade, right? I know that, I think it was just last week, we were leaving a client and we drove past and I saw a couple girls selling lemonade stand. They're selling lemonade at a lemonade stand. And I got a couple blocks. Of course, I'm in a hurry to get back to the office. And I'm like, I whipped around and looked at Caden, who was with me. I'm like, hold on a second. I got to go back. I'm like, he's like, what? Because I'm struggling with that. I'm going, you just go back. So I went back and pulled in and got out. And I'm like, hey, selling some lemonade today, huh? Yeah. I'm like, give me 2 cups, So, and then I'm like, how much? I'm like, $2 a piece, $2. I'm like, okay. All right. Thank you much for lemonade. And then I gave him a $10 tip. Right. Because then I go and, make their day. Right. But it goes back to the fact
absolutely.
And was it the best lemonade I ever had in my life? Probably not. Right. But
definitely not.
But hey, and it wasn't served on ice and it definitely wasn't cold, but that's okay. Right. The fact that they were doing that thing, and I should have asked, hey, what do you do? Maybe they said, maybe they were trying to buy an iPad. I don't know. Right. But, stop, support the kids. And try to put, once again, put a smile on their face, and hopefully that maybe their parents taught them the economics, right, of the lemonade stand. But who knows? Hopefully that's the case. Intellect such as yours. So that's amazing skills and things that you're passing information on and to your girls.
There's one thing actually. I think it's also essential.
Yeah.
And I told you, like I had so many barriers and walls that I built that actually I was struggling to get out and just do things and just being positive. 2 days ago, I think we needed a volleyball urgently, and we went to the store, and it's an outlet store that next to where we were, and I knew that store is usually low in stock. And we're talking, there's like, and she's saying, do you think they'll have it? I was like, yeah, they will have it. Let's think that they're going to have it, and we got to go in and they will have it. And just think positive, always think positive. And we got in and it's the only one in the store.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, they might not have it, right? But just think positive, people will come and tell you your dress is ugly or you're ugly or whatever. It's like, it's going to happen. That's how we grew up. I mean, we had bullying and all that good stuff actually helped us to get where we are. So I actually embrace that. I kind of like, hey, you got to think positive. Trust yourself. Okay. You're beautiful inside out. Whatever the story, don't let anybody put you down. Like, stay positive. Keep that smile on. And just move. Ask nicely every single time. Miss my flight. There's another flight that's fully booked. I just go at the stand and I smile and ask super nice. Mark, I've never missed the timing on a flight. I'm always on the next one, even if they don't have seat. Just because you're smiling and you're asking nice. And the person behind the counter or the person you're in touch, the human being, they feel you. If you're going to go and have an attitude, it's like, I freaking missed my flight and I have a meeting and whatever. They're not going to help you. Just give them the nice part. They're working, make their life, give them the $10, the extra $8 as a tip. Okay. Just that smile. It's just what it is. It's how much your net worth is down. $8, big deal. So yeah.
No, but you're right. It goes back to, especially when you give that example of the airline industry and yes, face it, we'll both be flying here in the next couple of weeks, but you get into that individual at that counter has dealt with a lot of crap in their day, let alone what's going on in their own personal life. But face it, travel can be very stressful. We know a lot of things happen, and I've watched it. I've watched people just unload on these people. They go in, and the only person right there is willing to help you, and you just walked up and you just laid into them, right? And they had nothing to do with your situation, right? Like they just happen to be employed by the company, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I know sometimes it can be difficult to put ourselves in check and our emotions in check and say, hey, look, I understand. And a lot of times, and I can be guilty this times too. I'm like, look, I know that you didn't create this problem. I know you just happen to work for the company. So I know it doesn't necessarily, if I come across wrong, this isn't meant for you. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. Hey, it doesn't make it excusable, but I'm just letting you know that, hey, look, I'm very flustered or whatever, but I know I'm here to talk to you about, what can we do and what can we make happen, or, what's my options, and just talking through it. And yes, trying to be positive, try to smile, going, hey, is it the end of the world? Yeah, it's an inconvenience. It wasn't life or death. No one died because I missed the flight. We just have to adjust.
Yeah, slow down. Back to slow down. Just slow down before you talk and take it off on this specific employee that really has nothing to do with everything that happened to you.
Yeah. That person didn't lose your luggage. That person didn't make you miss a flight. That person didn't make the bulb not work in the restroom of the airplane or whatever, so they couldn't leave. And that wasn't they didn't have nothing to do with that, right? So
Yep. And it's sad how we take it on each other's. And COVID was sad, but it was the amazing part of COVID is just taught us how we can slow down and nothing will change. Just slow down, take your time. We live together. We got to love each other's. Unfortunately, coming from a country with so many civil war and whatever, love, man, love each other. It's just like, what are you trying to get out of this? Like, you're mad at the cabin crew or whatever the story is, which is they could travel and start hammering.
Well, hey, face it. There's a lot of you see it a lot in travel, right? There's just a lot of emotions. There's a lot of things going on there. So,
they put a spice on your food. It's like, just wait 10 minutes. You're going to eat. You're good. And I know sometimes it's really hard. Like it's just, sometimes we can't control our emotions or whatnot, but just if you have that mindset and work on it, tweak it as you go. It's like, hey, slow down. Big one was the CrowdStrike Microsoft story. Just think about it. If you're an employee and you're mad at the tech that's coming to fix your problem, that technical person was struggling for the past few hours or few days in some certain areas and scenarios.
Yeah.
And everybody's cussing at this guy. This guy didn't build CrowdStrike. This guy didn't send the error. This guy is trying to help you. So when you have an issue, just be nice to these people. Trust me, if you're going at it and just giving them a hard time, it's going to take that tech more time to get you up and running. Just shut the front door or be nice and let them do their job.
No, well said. And I think we need a lot in other elements of our life as well. And it's not just on the technician in our industry, right? Like, go and face it. We need to apply that across the board. I know that can be hard at times, but to be able to, step back and look at yourself and look at the way you're reacting to things or the things you're saying and say, okay, stop. How do I put a positive spin on this? Maintain a little positivity and really put it, I guess, in, Nas just totally just blanked. Put it in perspective, put it in perspective in the grand scheme of life, right? Because chances are, maybe not tomorrow, but 5 days from now, 5 weeks from now, 5 years from now, it's not going to mean anything at all. We're probably not going to remember it.
Yeah. People why do
we let that consume us today? Right?
Yeah.
Don't.
My grandfather got an issue at work. He came back really, really mad. I still vividly remember him. I was at his house and he came back mad at work. He went to bed, didn't wake up. For what? He might have somebody just took his lunchbox. I don't know what the issue was, but just if you think about, you basically, I mean, it's time, but you basically spent the last 12 hours of your life over somebody took your lunchbox or whatever the story
Whatever
is.
the
Story is.
yes.
I mean, my grandmother food wasn't that great, but.
Oh my, all right. Hey, not everyone can be a chef, right? So I get it.
Absolutely.
All right, Nas. Well, hey, I look forward to seeing you in person here in just a few weeks. Let's make sure that we get some time together to catch up in person and maybe share some food or share some conversation. And until then, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, to share your story, to share and allow me to share that with others.
Thank you for having me, Mark. Honestly, I love what you do. I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to really make time where I can just push a little bit of experience. Again, we're not the smartest. We're just learning as we go. And I would love to help. So thank you for letting me share a little bit of my horrible stories. And thank you so much. And looking forward to see you. I'm staying a whole week. I'm not sure about you.
Yeah, I will be there. I think I arrive in Hollywood on Sunday, actually, and I'll be there through Sunday to Sunday. So
really?
Sunday. Yeah, so I'll be there for
Saturday. We'll definitely catch up.
Right on. Well, hey, until then, thanks again. It was my pleasure having you. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. See ya.